Good evening and welcome to the 19th episode of Leadership Conversations in the Development Sector. The social impact sector is full of passionate leaders with innovative outlooks on the world's greatest problems. Our leadership conversations focus on the unique insights offered by these leaders as they share their experiences and move the development sector forward. Our host, GoBarefoot, is an interactive web portal dedicated to the social sector. It brings together individuals, NGOs, NPOs, and the CSR arms of organizations with the mandate of creating a one-stop information website for both networking and knowledge sharing. We're supported by Catalyst, an NGO which has been preparing young women for leadership roles to create equality in opportunities and bridge the gender gap. Also, we are supported by third sector partners, India's only executive search firm exclusively for the development sector. Our guest today is one of the leading lights in the development sector. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Anshu Gupta, founder director Goonj. Popularly known as the clothing man and the recipient of 2015 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Anshu Gupta founded Goonj with a mission to highlight some basic but ignored needs of people on the development agenda using clothing as a metaphor. Anshu did double diplomas in journalism and advertising and PR, apart from doing a master's in economics and started as a freelance journalist. He left a corporate communication job in 1998 and initiated Goonj. Under his leadership, Goonj has taken the alarming growth of a turning urban waste into a tool to trigger large-scale work on various rural development issues. An Ashoka and Schwab Fellow for Entrepreneurship, Anshu is creatively and flexibly matching and seamlessly weaving urban surplus into the changing priorities and realities of rural marginalized communities. He has built the genesis of a parallel trash-based economy by creating barter between efforts of rural communities and urban surplus material as two new currencies. In conversation with Mr. Gupta is Shital Kakkar Mehra, leadership expert and executive presence coach for CEOs. Shital has trained over 75,000 professionals across Asia and has personally coached over 1,000 CXOs in the past 2 decades. She has conducted workshops for diverse organizations across Asia and has been invited as a speaker by leading B schools and professional associations. She's a best-selling author, and her latest best-selling book, Executive Presence, the Poise Formula for Leadership, is India's first research-based formula on this leadership skill. Sheetal is an active philanthropist and social entrepreneur. Thank you, Anshu and Sheetal, for joining us today. Over to you, Sheetal.
Thank you. Welcome, Anshu. It's wonderful, and we are very excited to hear your views on leadership in the social impact sector. Now, my first question to you is that globally, the divide between the social and the corporate sector is breaking. What are some of the processes that the development sector can learn from the corporate sector, and vice versa? What can they learn from this sector?
I think now the time has come when the corporate sector starts learning more. Okay? Because so far, the way the conversations have been happening is that people from the corporate sector will come and teach or preach the social sector. That is a one way conversation. We all know about it. Fine. I'm not saying it because I'm coming from the development sector right now. I have a past of corporate sector also. Very simple. How you can manage such big initiatives, how you can do large scale innovation, how you build communities, how you look at the issues with absolutely different angles, right? How without huge money or impact, different kind of investments, with the support of public or by taking public together as a stakeholder, you can work on the issues. I think all that needs to be learned from the development sector for sure. How do you think big? How do you scale things? A lot of institutions can learn from the corporate sector. Ethically,
Yes.
efficiency, ethics, efficiency, I would say, I think development sector can teach better.
Superb. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Agree with you that yes, capacity building comes very naturally to the corporate sector. But yes, there's so much conversation on even different styles of leadership post the pandemic. Things like empathy, yes, ethics, sustainability, all that has now crept into the corporate sector as well. We've seen, Anshu, during the pandemic that it was the first time in the history that the government had to work very closely, both with corporate sector as well as development sector, because everything, whether it was awareness building or wearing of masks or vaccination drives, they all had to work together and synchronize the effort to actually vaccinate a nation and get us out of this. So what can the government learn from this social sector, and what can the sector, of course, learn from the government?
Corporate sector can organize it much better, right? Because anything they can certainly organize at a scale with a lot of nitty-gritties, with a lot of SOPs kind of thing. Development sector, the voluntary sector has the best possible reach to the absolute last mile people, and they understand how to deliver things. This is what we do. They also understand that, especially in the disaster situation, how the communities behave, what are their specific needs, what is the language which is needed to speak. I think so. These two, so the government can learn certainly from these two entities for sure in a bigger way. Government has a scale, and we know that if government is willing to do something, they can, and government has resources. So we know that if government is willing to do something, it is very easy for them to do it. I think that we have seen in so many, in the last so many years, decades, that how if you want to do something, you can do something.
Yeah, political will is what it is.
Absolutely.
Now, one more very critical thing, a game changer. The CSR law came into effect in 2014 and has proven to be an absolute game changer for the development sector, for the impact sector in our country, because it made philanthropy compulsory. So what are your views on this, Anshu?
So, Shital, I think the fact remains that big work used to happen before that also. Okay, not that the entire development or the everything is happening after the CSR law. Before that also, there were enough people who were doing it. And even today, for those people, whether it is an act or not, it doesn't matter. Large part of voluntary sector also, I think the good institution will always make general masses as a stakeholder, so that there is no dependency, and so that not all the development work happens in the shape of a project. So it has certainly been a good game changer. I'll not say game changer, but yes, it's a very good development somewhere. It has come with its pluses and minuses also. The fact remains that a large part of money right now is going within the cities or within the peripheries or within the areas of the institutions where they are there. But as I always say, that the problems are not there only in Gurgaon and Gachibowli. These are in Giridih and Gadchiroli also. But large number of CSR efforts do not go to those distances. Large number of CSR are absolutely happy to work in the states of Maharashtra, Karnataka, and wherever their companies are, instead of going to maybe more in Uttarakhand, Northeast, Jharkhand, Bihar, West Bengal, parts of UP, wherever you need more attention. That way. So I think, but the answer is that if we just change a little bit of our lenses, and if we just tweak the way we are working, it can certainly become a very big thing to be a part of this entire development process.
Sure. Agree with you that yes, there is a lot more to be done, and it is not just Metro India. Now, Goonj has worked extensively, and we have been following the initiatives in disaster relief and community development, and your team worked very hard during COVID times. So please share with our listeners some leadership lessons that you learned during this time, and I'm sure there'll be many. And it was a difficult period, but yes, the team performed excessively and worked very hard to help out.
As much as possible decentralization, not only of the work, but also of the decision making and leadership. Number one. And fortunately, because a lot of people think that Goonj is like this, Goonj is like that, but we know how decentralized is the model. Because we operate in parts of 27 states with more than 1,000 people now, right? And do hardcore rural development, water, sanitation kind of work. And these are very localized decisions. No one can sit in Delhi or Bombay and decide what is going to happen. So that is the most important part for us. Second is that in the time of crisis, the leader has no option but to lead it from the front. Okay. I mean, you can't sit at home, fine, work from home is okay, but then you just can't sit and think that other people will do it. Even if you're not well, people need to understand that you are there. You're there because the way we operated, we had to change a lot of stuff which we have created in the last 2 decades, right? And also, very important lesson for the leadership is that the way you have so many new emotional stuff in life, also from certain things you have to go away with the emotions. You cannot be so emotional about the processes and systems which you have created in the last 2 decades. Okay? So I think that was first important decision for us, that a lot of our models as of now will not work. But there are other strengths in those models. Can we use those strengths and change certain models? So maybe hub and spoke model will not work. Maybe collection of stuff from the cities will not work because logistics is a nightmare. So can we absolutely localize and do it? So, and that is very complicated. You know, it seems very easy, but something which you have created in the last 2 decades, have spent days and nights in creating those structures and systems for partnership, for this, for that, and suddenly you decide, no, all this will not work for the next few months, and we'll see when do we come back to this, but there will be a new system to operate in this situation. I think all those were tough decisions, but good decisions.
Yeah, very difficult to pivot under those circumstances into another model, and having worked. Yeah, that was a difficult one. And now, Anshu, you had a journalistic background. You worked in mass communication, and you have seen the sector in the last 2 to 3 decades. It has evolved. It has changed. And we have, of course, a lot of listeners in our audience right now who could possibly look to cross over from the corporate to the development sector. Now, how has leadership, according to you, evolved as you have been monitoring and watching it, and you are very well connected with the sector as well? Just share with us how the sector has changed and how has leadership changed in the last 2 decades.
I mean, there are a lot of things. So one particular school is still going in the same way, which is also the good way. I'll not say that that's the wrong way, because all these new words will keep coming in life. I mean, you will call someone a social activist, a social reformer, a social entrepreneur. These are buzzwords in the market, like ESG and all those new buzzwords have come as if these things were not happening. So these are like putting or giving titles to certain things which exist in the market already, and then we give a nice title to something. So, I mean, the fact remains that some people are certainly doing it in an entrepreneur model, okay? And there are certain issues which cannot be handled in an entrepreneur model, right? You will not get that ROI kind of stuff in many, many issues. And the mistake which many of us are making is that we have started seeing everything with the social entrepreneurship model, as if for the last 100 years, the way things were operating were wrong. So I would say that it's a mix of leadership. A lot of people have graduated to this new way of operating, and the smart people have done both. So they have the same empathy, same compassion, same eye on the community. They are still using the lenses of the community and doing it at a scale. Second thing which has changed is that in this era, many leaders go beyond their local geographies or states. They are more interested in, I would say, scale of the idea. When people talk about Goonj, I always say that scale is not about institution, scale is about idea. So that is something we can see many people. Okay? Large number of people in the leadership are also talking about the ecosystem building instead of just talking about their own institution. Not that in the earlier phase people didn't do it, but now it is more common and it is more doable with your entire technology, different mode of communication, maybe more flights in the sky and all that. Because in 20, 30 years, even that entire ecosystem infrastructure is also changed in a big way worldwide. And you're more global. So you have more learning opportunities. You don't have to sit in the library and read. You can sit in the flight and read. So all those avenues are there, and that obviously has an impact on the leadership of social sector also.
You spoke about new buzzwords. So we hear a lot of words like young philanthropy, collaborative philanthropy. So what is your view on that? That a lot of young people have started donating from different parts of the world. Actually, interestingly, during the pandemic, we saw that, Indians sitting, even students sitting in different parts of the world use a lot of platforms to donate. And of course, collaborative is that a lot of NGOs have for the first time come together, work together, and have found like a common cause or a common way. So what is your experience? What's your view on that?
So the second thing, Shital, your notion is absolutely wrong that the development sector came for the first time together. Okay. And this is something which you guys need to examine carefully. But I can say it with full confidence. I would say that development sector is the most collaborative sector. Okay. These are myths and these are wrong narratives which are created in the market. Like today, if Goonj is standing here, it is not standing on its own. It is standing because we work with more than 700 institutions all across the country. Right? If you want to scale, if you want to reach all across the country or wherever, right, you have no option but to collaborate. So it's one of the most collaborative sector. Pick up any 10, 20 institution and try to list their partners. They'll have more partners than Airtel and GoBarefoot. They might not work together, but the development sector work together because we understand that not everything is our expertise. And we are not going there to sell our product. Right? We are working, so suppose in Maharashtra, the institution in Maharashtra would know much better, deeper, the ecosystem, politics, everything much better than us. That's how we operate. COVID, I think, was a collaboration in completely different way. It was a collaboration of all kind of good people, whether it is RWA, Market Association, youngsters, Karam Club, Kirtan Mandali, good individuals. I mean, the beauty of this was that whosoever wanted to do something good was trying to initiate a platform or was trying to do something together with someone. And that gave us a lot of hope, because we feel that future, if we remain intact like that, and if we remember those, especially in the second wave and the first wave, the way we all operated, this gives us a lot of hope in future. So that is the part of collaboration, and that is also people understood that how what people normally call a small contribution, how big is that contribution? Getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, using all your pan and cookers and cook and give food to the people who need it. You don't need an organized organization for this, but as individual, you can do those things. And organizations can create a space for you. So I would say that last 2 years have taught the Aam Janta a lot, provided we take that as learning and understand our power to do good. But doing good is a collective responsibility. It is not the responsibility of a particular sector or these kind of people.
I agree, and thank you for articulating it so beautifully. And yes, I agree that the Aam Janta definitely saw the goodness of giving and of helping and of working together. Now, technology, Anshu, has also proven to be has impacted the sector in multiple ways, both positive, negative. So what is your view on that?
No, listen, I think we all have to flow with the world, with the innovation, whatever is coming new in the market. Right? It has certainly made the reach very easy, the communication very easy, and obviously it has two parts of it. So, like, I'll give you a very simple example of a disaster. So, suppose we are talking about a cyclone. So, because of technology now, evacuation is much more easier because you can inform people well in advance. And you will find that the way we lost people in 1999 or that Odisha cyclone, in the similar kind of cyclone, we are not losing people in that way. That's one part of it. But the bad part of it is that so much is communicated and the evacuation becomes such a big story that large number of people do not understand that fine, you evacuated, people survived. But when you go back, you have to restart your life because your livestock, to crops, to house, to belongings, livelihood, nothing is there. But then that communication does not happen.
Yeah.
And social media, we all know, social media has some good part and off late a lot of bad part. For all of us, it's not about singing our stories, but or singing a song in glory. Ki, this is what we have done. This is what we've done. But also to inform people on the real issues. How do they become a part of the solutions instead of talking about problems only? So that way, tech part, communication part of tech is certainly done good. And also, I think it has saved a lot of time in terms of all kind of assessment, data management, and so many other things. But this is also true that because the bigger institution, rich people have access to technology, unfortunately, we expect the same from the people who cannot afford it, for whom it's a burden. Where the phone is there, but phone is there for voice, not for data, right? Or the bandwidth is not there because our expectations have become so high that if there are enough people who will send you a mail and then WhatsApp you and say, I haven't got the response. And my answer normally is that why should I respond?
Send you an email and call you and say, have you received my mail?
But this doesn't operate, because like I tell you, simple thing which we are doing in our organization also. Like Zoom has made meetings very easy. Right? It has a lot of pluses in the last 2 years. Google Meet, Zoom has really, really done wonders. But now we are realizing that even when this thing was not there, our organization was working pretty efficiently without meeting people every day. Okay. Now, if you see our kind of institution, we will suddenly send a Zoom invite to our field team and say 5 o'clock we are discussing this. Anyone from the office will say that. Now, in a way, you have stopped 30 people going to the field that day just because you want to hold a meeting on Zoom.
Which you didn't hold and things were going pretty fine without it.
Pretty fast. Absolutely.
Yeah. So in a way, we have become a little more inefficient because of the fact that we have multiple meetings. Yeah.
In many cases. Absolutely. The amount of time we now end up on Zoom and Google, we used to spend the same time in the field.
That's true, actually. That's a very unique way to look at it. And yes, thanks so much for sharing it with our listeners. Now, you as a leader, you have proactively developed your team and developed other potential leaders in your team. So share with our listeners some of the strategies or practices that you have adopted to have leaders who have taken forward your cause and your ideas.
I think one is the value system, right? And value system is very interesting in this sector because we are not the gurus or we're not the politicians. We don't have anything to project, anything to say, any gyan of that kind. Okay, I think people will be with us only when we practice something, when people see it happening, and that is the hardcore part of value system. And morning only, I was just doing a session, live session here with some people, and I was saying the same thing. That value system also is something which you will have to reinforce. Like the way our mother used to tell us always, ki beta jhoot nahi bolna. So she used to say every time we used to meet after a year or 2 or 6 months, she used to say, we also used to feel, why she's saying again.
Why is she repeating?
But that's a reinforcement of the value system.
Yeah.
So all of us need to do that, number one. Number two, one of the key questions which we ask the second line, third line in the institution, that have you passed on what you got? You know, be very careful and mindful about that. That you got so much of freedom or decision-making power, or learning or opportunities. Have we passed on the same to the next level of leadership? And that's the key thing. If you want to grow as a team of leaders, and if you want to grow the second line and third line of it. And the most important part is that I think that's what we've done in Goonj for sure. That many areas, many cities, if you go, local janta, the people, only and only know the local leadership there. I mean, as I often joke that if I go, even if my team introduces me that this is Anshu Gupta, no one knows who is Anshu Gupta. That name is not familiar. Only when they say ki bhai, he is the guy who started Goonj, I do get some do char wo gende ki mala, you know. But otherwise, the local team and the team leader is known in that area or in that domain. And that's the most important part, that leader need to move out of so many of those things. And that's how the leadership really grows. So go to any implementation place of Goonj across 27 states, or even the domains which are handled by people all across, you will actually find the connect with the local person, with that individual. That's how the sense of ownership comes. That's how the sense of responsibility comes. That's how you want to grow, you know. And as we often in Delhi office, we often say this, like if you work with the second line, and then the second line work with whatever line, suddenly people will start calling second line sir, and they will start calling you bada sir. So your promotion in any case happens without doing much.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's true. But clearly, you've empowered your people and you've set up the structure, and that has trickled down to every level in the organization. And that is a very unique way to grow.
No, those are very important, because as I said, that you have to reinforce certain things, right? Only thing is that you reinforce something which you do it top down, or many of us can sit together and agree on certain things. So this is how we will operate. These are our non-negotiables. So if we sit together and come to a conclusion, that is much easier to spread all across in the same way, because then everyone has the ownership of it, and you have decided you can't move out of it.
Very interesting. One final question to you before we take the audience question. We have a lot of young professionals from the sector. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, those who are looking to join the sector. So what is your 2 or 3 pieces of advice to the rising stars of this sector on how they should manage their career or their presence in the sector?
I think it's one of the most beautiful place to operate. Okay. You have enough to do tomorrow, and you can also sleep today or tonight because you've done something. That's the most important part. Okay, and COVID has also proved that how important is this work? How you bring happiness in the life of people. So some of the things is that there are 2 ways of working. One is that you talk about the work, the other is the work talks about you. In the era of social media and technology, the easiest is that you start talking about work. But I want so many people, and that's what I advise so many other youngsters who, where we keep talking, that just hold on and hold on for some time. Even without Facebook, the work used to happen, and even in future with Facebook or whatever, the work will happen. Let the work speak. It will take some time, but it will also give you time to make mistakes, learn from those, and also create your very strong pillars, and which is more important for all of us. Number 2, make as many possible stakeholder in your work. In this sector, come out of the very demeaning language of donor and beneficiary. We all are stakeholder. is absolutely wrong. And I would say we need to challenge this, that when we give time, we are donors. When community gives time, they are still beneficiaries. When we put in our skill, we are donor or consultant. When the community gives the skill, they are still beneficiaries. So all of us in this sector and in the corporate sector, CSR, VSR, whatever it is, all of us need to be thankful to the people who are giving us opportunity to work, opening up their life to us, trusting unknown people coming from 100 kilometers, 500 kilometers in their cars or whatever, and opening their villages, homes, offering us tea, discussing their issues with us, trusting our approaches and working on those. So I think the time has come that in certain cases we all accept our failures, that despite best intention, the kind of impact is not happening. Maybe because we are not listening, and maybe because we are not making them a stakeholder, maybe because we are not using the lenses of the people with whom we want to work, and we are using our own lenses of finding a problem and providing a solution. I think all that need to change, and then we see a much larger impact. I mean, it's very simple. You treat someone a beneficiary versus you treat someone a stakeholder. You have more hands, more mind, more heart. I mean, there's no
perspective.
It's a simple mathematics. It's simple mathematics, I would say. Nothing else.
Very nicely put, wonderfully put, and very impactful. I'm sure all the listeners will take this back with them and remember it for years to come. We have a couple of questions. So we have Michelle from Third Sector Partners who would like to ask the question. So can we have the spotlight on Michelle, please?
Thank you, Shital, and good evening, Anshu. I'm Michelle Disa. I co-lead Third Sector Partners, an executive search firm, and we headhunt leadership talent for the social sector. Well, Anshu, you have very aptly said that right now India doesn't need more thinkers, but it needs more doers. And with that aim, you ideally initiated the Goonj Fellowship, which gives fellows the opportunity to work at the grassroots level and tackle the real life situations. I would like you to share some insights about the exposure that fellows gain during this program and how it has added value to their profile.
So, our lens is the lens of dignity. That's more important, okay? Because we deal with the most charitable subject object of the world, which is our second-hand material, very large scale, right? Now, that the way we are operating, that changes the perspective of people, number one, at a very young age in the fellowship. B, this is one place which gives you enough exposure of urban and rural both. And rural, we don't introduce you as the hub of problems, which normally happens. Okay, let's go and solve the problem of rural India. We don't even know what is rural India, still we want to solve the problem of rural India. I think in our case, rural India is a stakeholder. Rural India is paying back in a currency called labor and wisdom. It is not a top-down approach where we are saying every village will have a road. Rather, the decision-making is in the hands of last people. The other important part, what fellows also learn in the process practically, that how if you value people for what they are, okay, how the game really changes. How when you stop using the word garib, bechara, besara, how that language really changes the entire perspective, not only of us about certain people, but of the people also. So I think, so I'm not talking about the practical exposure, fine? Practical exposure, of course, whatever we are working on, education, mensuration, what is it called, circular economy now, all that in any case people get, okay? Because that's a part of our routine life. And as you know, we are not limited to clothes as per the market perception. We have a hardcore rural development, infrastructure, barter economy kind of model. But I'm talking about the hidden things which we might not see. How you create teams, how you listen to people, how it is true that if you go from 9 to 6 to a village, you understand the practical part of it. But when you stay from 6 to 6, you understand the emotional part of it. And why it is important to understand the emotional part of it before getting into any kind of work. So our fellows go, they stay. There is, whether we call it rural immersion or whatever, but when you go in remote, in any case, you have no option to come back. You have to stay there only. And that's where, while having food together, while sleeping together, while going for walks, that's where you understand, those areas much better. And you make friends in the community itself.
Very interesting. Thank you. And we have one more question from Purvi Shah of Catalyst. So could we have the spotlight on Purvi, please?
Yeah. Hi, Anshu.
Hi.
And it was wonderful to hear you speak and understand. And I agree with agree with the most of your thoughts. So I have a question. Since we work with the girls predominantly we work with girls and focusing on STEM education and building leadership. I want to know, in social sector, do you see a change in any gender ratio in terms of your fellowship or leadership as well?
For sure. It certainly depends on the organization, but overall, I see a larger participation of women in the leadership position. Like even at our place, we are. This is about 76% as per last data are women overall workforce, and in our board, it is 50-50. Even when we do the panels in any work in Chopal and all, we're very conscious about it. That can we do it 50-50? So we can leave a very dynamic male to make sure that we have the entry of at least equal participation of the gender. And this is basically in practice by many institutions, but overall participation has grown. Some people still need to change a lot. I think they need to value the participation of women a lot, because there's completely different kind of perspective which come to us in that. Right from the resilience to problem solving to managing life in minimum resources, to have more humility in life. I think these are certain things which I think if we have more women leader, we'll learn more.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sakshi, do we have any more questions in the chat box? One final question.
Yes, Shital, we do have one question. So the question is, how do you align your organization with your vision and mission?
After a certain point, I think it becomes a collective vision mission, and you should have enough space to incorporate the vision of other people also. You can't go run the institution with just your arrogance. Fine. What we saw last, say, 23 years back, and maybe we kept building for 5 years or something like that. But after that, when the people started coming, the fact remains that if the institution is there today, it has almost equal amount of hard work, labor, mental part, everything of so many other people also. So I think we need to create that space for our collective vision. We need to bring corrections in that. And there are a lot of things which happens. Like I say that it should be called clock for work, but the leadership or so many people and leadership team, we don't have a separate leadership team. Like a whole lot of people are in leadership position. So, and they say, no, it should be called dignity for work. So it is called dignity for work. And every time I get a chance, I put in my thought, but so far I have not been successful. So I think alignment will happen when you create that space for people. and you are also ready to correct sometime. Sometime, of course, you will not. So, that is also a tasak, so that happens sometimes, which is also important. And again, I'm repeating that if you live that way, if you remain in that way, if it doesn't come to your head, then it is much easier to remain in the same way, even when you grow large. So one other thing which we do, and personally, in any case in my life I do, but I also, in all these sessions and all in team thing also, we keep talking about it, that every day before sleeping, every night, if you just say spend 2 minutes, 5 minutes with yourself, and just try to see that how many times have I used the word I. Okay. And was that I justified? Every day you will find that 80%, almost 80% times you've used the word I, it does not belong to I. So you will not be able to correct that particular day, but at least tomorrow in first half, you will be balanced. Second half, what happens, we don't know. But at least in first half, you'll be a balanced person a little bit. And it's just small exercise every day to make sure that, it's just a part of journey and all of us are trying to do it together. And it's not about you.
Superb. Thank you, Anshu. We have run out of time, but not out of questions. It's been an absolute pleasure and a delight and an honor to have you over here. And a big thank you to our listeners for logging in today. And thanks so much, and keep doing the wonderful work that you're doing. And we are all your cheerleaders. And thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Take care.